roll call, right?
Oh, yeah, sorry, oh, it's another Monday for me, sorry.
That's okay.
I didn't hear you.
It could have very well been me. My fault.
I don't think I had my mic on. I think it's my fault. It's my fault.
I'm like, where? Okay, so Member Galban? Here. Member Pache?
Here.
Member Raffinelli?
Present.
Member Schill?
Here.
Member Earl?
Present.
Member Bicknell? She is not online. And Chair Taylor?
Present. Is there a motion to excuse Member Bicknell? Okay.
It's been a little while since I made a motion. I'll motion
You move.
Member McNell to be excused.
All in favor?
You have to have a second.
Oh, may I have a second? Sorry.
I guess I'll second that motion.
All in favor, please say aye. Unopposed?
Nice.
I'll say nay.
I guess I can't say nay if I motioned it, right?
No?
You
Yes,
can.
you can.
Okay, nay.
Motion does not carry. And we'll move on to late changes in the, if there's any late changes in the agenda. After reviewing the agenda, are there any late changes?
No late changes, Chair?
All right, we'll follow the agenda. We'll move on to public comment. Anyone requesting to speak to the board regarding all items not subject to specific public hearing may come forward at this time. Please state your name and limit comments to 3 minutes. Written comments may be submitted to the clerk prior to this meeting. Right, without public comments, we'll move on to consent agenda. Approving the minutes for the October 8th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes from the October 8th meeting?
I move to approve the minutes from the October 8th meeting.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And opposed? Motion carries. All right, and for our first presentation, our presenter is Mr. Crownhart, Clark County Park Futures Task Force. Ridgefield Agency Metrics.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair. First off, let's all start by putting our hands out. Just give a little shake. I think we're all, we had yesterday off, so I think we're all just trying to get it all moving. So, perfect.
I missed last month, yeah.
All right. Well, first, thank you, Chair. Thank you, Parks Board. It's always a pleasure to be here to talk with you about parks and our park system. And tonight, we'll be presenting about the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Agency overview that was presented by Council Member Davis and myself to the Clark County Parks Futures Task Force that took place on November 6th last week. So with that, we really want to give you an update of what we discussed and kind of give you the same overview that we gave our peer agencies across the county. For a little bit of background, the Park Futures Task Force is a task force that was created by the Clark County Council to bring together the jurisdictions across the county to examine and explore revenue options for our jurisdictions, whether they be independent or joint. And we are in the beginning stages of that task force, where we are working to share information with each other, get to know each other's agencies, so that as we get into more discussion and case study research of different funding models across the country, we can have a good understanding of how it may impact ourselves as well as our peers here in the county. All right. So with that, I'm going to start with this presentation that we gave them last week. Really our focus is to give a focused look at the Ridgefield Park system, where we stand today, what we've accomplished, and where we're headed next. We'll start with a quick snapshot of our system and the benchmarking data that helps put things into context. From there, I'll highlight a few key achievements that show how our parks program has matured and how it's aligned with council priorities. We'll then take a look at the initiatives that initiatives driving our next few years, the challenges that come with growth, and the values that guide how Ridgefield approaches parks and recreation within our city. So to start, we should go previous slide. Now one more. Perfect. It's Mount St. Helens. It's beautiful. So to start, I want to share a quick snapshot of Ridgefield's park system. Part of the Parks Futures Task Force is that each agency is sharing data with each other on our systems. This is so that we can help compare apples to apples. The data points that we're sharing with you are data points that were put together by the National Parks and Recreation Association, and we have all compiled our own individual jurisdiction data so that we can compare across these agencies. Next slide. So these numbers help tell a story, how we've grown, how we operate, and where we're feeling the pressure to keep up with a fast-growing community. As you can see, for 2024, we had 15,790 residents. We've got 25 parks, 175 acres of property across our park system, 12 miles of trails, $1.3 million of an operating budget, and a variety of other metrics that are important for what we do. Next slide will help put some of this into context. So as you look at our system, we have 11.08 acres per 1,000 residents, which is just below the national average. To provide some context here, the orange bar is the national metric for how many acres per 1,000 residents jurisdictions with less than 20,000 residents have. So this is the, essentially of comparable cities, we are roughly on par with where most of them are. We have 11, it's typically 12.9. The red bar is all agencies in total. This includes smaller communities like La Center, all the way up to large communities like New York City or Portland. So generally speaking, we're right on par with where things are with our peer agencies. Next slide. Right now, Ridgefield averages about one park for every 630 residents, which means most of our neighborhoods have something close by. That's a result of strong planning policies that require new developments to include parks and open spaces when they develop. The challenge moving forward will be maintaining that proximity as a city expands, keeping parks accessible while balancing long-term maintenance and operating capacity. Slide. Our per capita spending is lower than most agencies, which reflects how efficiently we operate as part of a larger city team. We share staff, equipment, and infrastructure with other divisions to stretch our resources. I've shared stories with you on how our parks maintenance team is the same crew that actually does the snow plowing when we have a weather event here in the city. And the equipment that's used by Parks and Recreation is also used by facilities, as well as our stormwater crew that's cleaning those storm basins throughout the city. So this $85 per capita may be an indication of efficiency. It could also be an indication of underspending. One of the things to keep in mind for Ridgefield is that because we have been a fast-growing community, many of our assets are much younger. And newer assets typically require less to take care of. That said, as those assets age, they will increase in cost to maintain. So while that's an advantage for us now, one day that rooster will come home and we have to figure out a way to address that.
Can I ask a quick question about
Absolutely,
that last
Cal.
one? So you said all the equipment is shared. Is there much overlap, or are we talking like maybe mowers and yard equipment? I mean, I know safety equipment is just going to be for parks, and then snow plows are obviously just for one part of the department. But
Well, kind of. So for snow plowers, a lot of the vehicles that are used, the plow itself may be attached to the vehicle, but is actually set in storage when we're not using it. So those that equipment may be used for in other spaces. That be like our dump truck or our vac truck. So our truck that goes around and does the street sweeping, and also goes around and helps essentially suck up a bunch of stuff that you need. We use that for some of our park projects as well as our stormwater projects. Did that answer your question? Perfect. With about five full-time equivalent positions for every 10,000 residents, we're well below the typical staffing levels for an agency. We have about 5.26. Typically, for an agency of our size, we'd have about 13 FTEs, and these are full-time staff members that operate within the city. So the reason why we're able to have this be lower than others is two reasons. One, we don't have a recreation program, such as a community center. And two, a lot of that 5.26 FTEs is actually a small percentage of a variety of staff members' positions. I am the only person in the city whose entire FTE is dedicated to parks. That said, I am not mowing every park. I don't have time for that. That said, we have a lot of our maintenance team, maybe 20 to 25% or 30% of their time may be dedicated to parks, depending on the position. We have staff members in community development that are doing park work in terms of parks planning. We have staff at City Hall, our communications manager, who has part of her time is doing parks and recreation activities. So that's how we're able to keep that number lower. That said, as our system becomes larger and more complex, this number may need to be adjusted if that's what council wants. Next slide. Now let's look at kind of the fun one, and that's operating expenditures per acre. I said before, we have 175 acres within Ridgefield's park system. Right now, that's about $7,600 per acre to take care of that space. That's important to note a couple of things. One, not every acre costs the same amount to take care of. Some of our spaces are simply open spaces that we want to be more natural. Other spaces have a splash pad on top of it, and that does cost significantly more to take care of per square foot. So because of that, that's generally speaking, we're at about $7,600 per acre. $9,500 is the average for an agency of our size. So to put this into some other context, we just adopted or we're about to accept into the city Storybook Hollow Park. That is 18.2 acres. So if you start putting those numbers together, that's probably what, 100,000 or probably about $80,000 to $90,000 a year to maintain that park. It's kind of a way to think about that.
I have one quick question too.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, you said as things get aged, the price goes up.
Typically.
What's the average? What you have like the less than 20,000. What's the average age that they like? What are we expecting percentage-wise that goes up, say 50 years from now, or 20 years from now? Do you know?
I am not necessarily sure, and there's lots of things that can be done in the meantime to help keep that number low. The city does have what's called a pavement for context, we have a pavement preservation program for our streets. So if we were to build a street, say Pioneer Street, that we were just getting ready to open, let's say we built that and did no maintenance on it, it would not last very long. However, if we did regular improvements, whether it be slurry seals, patching, replacing certain things, we can extend the life of that asset and it will not cost as much. So if we can increase some of our operations and maintenance, we can actually drive down replacement costs down the line. So it just kind of depends. As for what that means for other jurisdictions, it doesn't clarify within the data.
Can I ask a follow-up question, kind of that same slide, is just thinking we have multiple new assets coming online this year and next, and so I'm curious how this is going to play out as we have, and varied assets too. And I don't know if there's an answer, I'm just thinking out loud about that.
During the budget process each year, one of the things that we do is we take a look at what are the current assets that we have, what does it take to take care of them, and with their depreciation, how might that change? And two, what new assets are we expecting to get this next year? So for the 2025 budget, which was approved last year, we were approved an extra half of an FTE for Parks and Recreation in terms of operations and maintenance. And that was partially dedicated to, we knew we were going to be getting Boyce Park, and we knew we were going to be getting Storybook Hollow. So because we were planning ahead, we brought on that half of an FTE early. The last thing we want to do is build assets and then have to scramble at the end of the year to say, oh gosh, we're now running at a deficit because we didn't plan for these types of things. So in the budget process, we're always putting together strategies for council to consider to say, hey, this is what we anticipate the operating costs of this facility to be. All right. Next slide. So the numbers help frame where we are, but they don't tell the full story. The next few slides highlight the work happening behind the scenes and under the hood, the policies and procedures that help shape Ridgefield's identity and strengthen our foundation for the future. Each represents progress towards a more connected, resilient, and sustainable park system. All right, some of these you are very familiar with. One of the things that's unique about Ridgefield's park system is our engineering standards. We have the most comprehensive engineering standards for parks and trails within the county. And because of that, it allows us to build assets that are more resilient. They have a longer lifespan, therefore driving down long-term costs. And two, by having a trail system that distinguishes between transportation and recreation trails, we have transportation trails that can qualify for transportation funding. So that funding mechanism allows us to go after those components. We also specify things such as safety requirements for staff, safety requirements for users, accessibility and inclusive design. All of these things help drive down lawsuits and liability. They also drive up user experience and help build a system that is more adaptable to our community. Next slide. The second thing that we do that's unique is we have a lot of developer engagement within our system. Ridgefield Municipal Code, Chapter 18. If you ever have an opportunity to read that, it's actually very riveting. This is where it specifies that 25% of any land that's developed through a PUD is required to be set aside for parks, trails, and open spaces. That is by far the largest within the county. And the reason why that exists is because we have a park impact fee structure. So when a development comes in to build a housing development, they have to pay the city essentially $4,164 per household, per unit that they build for the city. And that $4,164 is paid to the city, which can be used to build parks and trail assets. Wonderful, great when we're building homes. We put together a structure about 10 years ago that allowed developers to, instead of paying us directly, build parks and recreation assets, and we will reduce your park impact fees. Park impact fee credits is what that is. So because of that, that's why we got things like Storybook Hollow Park. While we're getting a brand new park for the community, we actually didn't build it, which is wonderful. Now we have the engineering standards that help them build them to the proper standards, and the park impact fee credit system allows them to go out and build it. This is unique for us because it allows them to build these assets without having to encumber the city staff with all of the development of it. Cool. So this is something that a lot of the other cities, when we were giving this presentation, had a lot of questions on and are very interested in learning more about. So next slide. Next up is interdepartmental integration. This is something that we've done really well within the city of Ridgefield. Like I said before, you only have one full-time person dedicated to parks, trails, and recreation, and that's myself. That said, everyone in the city, and I can confidently say, everyone in the city has a little bit of parks and recreation in their work. And one of the joys of my job is to be able to connect with them and help enhance that and help make it more successful. It's not about trying to collect these items and try and build a full department or make them my responsibility, but help to empower city planners to instill parks and recreation engineering standards within their work. It's working with the police department to review plans with me to talk about lighting and safety, especially when we were looking at things like the skate park. It's working with communications and making sure that we're able to share out quickly with the public when a trail is closed, if there is an event happening within a park, or just simply helping people pick up their dog's waste. All of those types of things are really what help our park system stay lean and help it be successful. Next slide. From here, let's take a look at some of the key initiatives or kind of the big projects we see coming over the next few years. Many of you are very well aware of these, but it was a joy to be able to kind of share some of the highlights coming to some of our peers. Next slide. The next big things that we're going to be working on, the PROS plan next year is going to be a huge project for all of us to tackle. This will help lay the groundwork for where we're going to go in the next 6 years, and so that's really our number one project. Our next key initiative is the Parks Revenue Exploration and Sustainable Funding Solutions. This is one reason we're part of the task force. We want to learn more about what revenue options exist for Parks and Recreation and how we might be able to leverage those to support our community. And third, but definitely not least, is the Ridgefield Community Center, which will provide our city a unique and new way to provide services to our community, not only outdoors, but also indoors. All right, let's talk about some of the pressures and the constraints. These are the things that are kind of making our work in Parks and Recreation a little more difficult. First up is sustainable funding. As we go through the broad budget process each year, Parks and Recreation is almost entirely funded through the general fund. When looking at the city's finances, that general fund has to fund a lot of different components within the city, whether it be city events, community development, public works, it's street projects, it's paying for police. And so with all those mouths to feed, we're always trying to find a more diverse revenue pool for Parks and Recreation. The benefit here is that Parks and Recreation is typically something that residents want to pay for, that they are excited to pay for. So we're exploring donation models, whether they be small or large, to help the residents be more connected to their spaces and help them make those investments themselves. Next up. The next big challenge is rapid growth. We're growing very quickly here in Ridgefield, which is wonderful. But as I like to say, when the gods wish to punish us, they answer our prayers. So we have lots of wonderful growth, but that also means that we have to move quickly to make those connections, especially for our trail system. Making sure that we're growing in a way that connects these trails together, because getting them connected at the early stages is significantly cheaper and easier than trying to make them after the fact. So that's one thing we're working towards keeping up on in the work that we're doing. Next up, let's talk about some of our unique elements, which Ridgefield has some pretty unique stuff that makes our place special. Next slide. Some of our signature facilities include the Ridgefield Outdoor Recreation Complex, or the Rourke, which is a spectacular facility that can host tournaments and is a place for all of our residents to participate in leagues and activities. Overlook Park Splash Pad has been a long project, but is actually seeing success at this point. And I'll have a full update on that during the staff report for you all.
So a quick question.
Yes.
So the park generating revenue, is that mostly coming from the Rourke and a little bit from Abrams?
Most of it's coming from the Rourke, a little bit from Abrams.
Okay. Thank you.
The numbers last year in 2024, we brought in $13,000 at the end of the day, and about 1% of our operating budget. The average for an agency of our size is 20%.
And does that revenue go towards the bond, or are we just on a fixed payback on the bond for the Rourke?
It's a fixed payment on the bond. And
Okay.
also, so for the Rourke specifically, those funds go into a pot to help maintain and take care of the Rourke itself.
Okay.
And because that facility is not actually operated and maintained by the city, it's actually operated and maintained by the school district, because it is a joint facility, so it's not our staff that are maintaining that facility. But it is jointly owned, it is owned by the city. We just work with the district to take care of it.
Is it included in the acres of parkland per 1,000 residents, or
It is,
average residents per park? Okay.
yes. Next up is Boyce Park, which is the first pump track in the county. Storybook Hollow, a really interesting park we're really tying theme to a space, and I'll have an update on that during the staff report as well. And then, of course, the community center will be an interesting and unique asset for our community as well. That said, one of the things that makes our system unique is our council's approach to connected by design. There is a lot of intentional work to make sure that each of these parks has a distinct feel, a distinctive vibe, and that they are connected to those assets that are near them. For example, Storybook Hollow Park, which is on the screen in front of you, there was a lot of work done to ensure that there are strong connections to Boyce Park, which is very nearby. So in the development process, as you know, we talked a lot about Boyce Park to ensure that these spaces are working in unison. And with that, do you have any questions or thoughts, whether that be about this presentation or about the task force overall?
So when we, sorry, am I on? The $4,000 plus dollars we get per permit that's submitted, that money goes into, is it divided between the operating and capitals, or how's, when it's brought in?
It's dedicated to specifically parks and recreation operations and maintenance. Or sorry, it goes into capital. My apologies.
It goes into capitals.
Capital, yes.
And capitals is for purchasing or acquiring new properties, or what
Acquiring
else
new
is?
property or like enhancing property. So if you're
Either
gonna
enhancing or
install a
acquiring.
playground or build new assets, that's what that fund would be for.
Okay. Is there any cap to how much money we're allowed to keep or hold in our operating budget or our capitals budget?
That is something I actually do not know, but I can definitely get that information if you need it.
Is there a foundation in place already for Ridgefield Parks, like its own foundation? So there's an avenue for people who donate to
There's
get a tax deduction?
Wonderful question. Thank you, Member Earl. We currently do not have a specific 501c3 that the city partners with on Parks and Recreation. That said, we've been doing a lot of work to help establish that, and I hope to be bringing good news to you in the next couple of weeks on that.
Without having, not that you couldn't get it done, but you can also go through another nonprofit as a fiscal agent.
Absolutely.
That can do it for you now, like even the Friends of Ridgefield National Wildlife Refuge could probably, somebody could do that in this realm who's already got
Yes.
that status.
We've done some work to explore a variety of different nonprofits that are already established in the county to serve as a potential conduit for these types of funds, and we're currently exploring those options with a few of them.
I was just wondering, at the task force meetings, what were some ideas that Ridgefield had gotten from the other cities and other areas?
Absolutely. So the way that these are structured right now, each jurisdiction is getting an opportunity to present on their agency. So this meeting that we previously had Ridgefield and Camas presented. Our next meeting in December will have the Vancouver and Battleground, and then I think the county will be presenting after that. So some of the stuff that I pulled from our information from Camas was that, interestingly enough, they found out that about 70% of their visitors to Heritage Park in Camas are actually from outside the city, which is a unique data point that helps them understand that those individuals that are coming in and using the space may not necessarily be the ones that are helping pay to maintain it. So they're kind of wrestling with the idea of how might they generate funds off of those users. And with Camas, one of their challenges is also being a little more landlocked. They're butting up against Washougal as well as Vancouver, and they're kind of running out of space up north. So space is a little bit of a different game for them. They've also had a leadership change recently for their parks director. He's been on the job for about 6 months. He's still doing a lot of learning about the local agency and the spaces that he's helping operate.
Who is their parks director?
His name is Chris Witazowski.
Okay.
I believe that's how I pronounce his name. Could very well be wrong. He's a wonderful, got a lot of experience. He came from a parks agency in Alberta.
Cool. Are there any other questions or comments? Thanks, Corey.
Wonderful. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Parks Board.
All right. We'll move along to our next presentation, the pros plan preparation, master plan inventory, and capital facilities plan review.
Perfect.
Presenter Corey.
That's correct. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Parks Board. So with this, I actually don't have a physical presentation. Instead, I'm going to run you through Ridgefield Roundtable to take a look at some of our currently existing master plans. So this is, I'm doing this for a couple of reasons. One, to help educate the public that there is a Ridgefield Roundtable to kind of learn about all of our parks projects that are coming down the pipeline for the city. But two, is an opportunity for you as Parks Board members to get yourselves a little more familiar with what we have done in the past few years and how that may help inform our conversations next year around the Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces Plan. So with that, this is Ridgefield Roundtable. Let's scroll down a little bit and take a look at some of these projects. So the page is separated into active projects and inactive projects. Some of these that I know many of you are very familiar with. Overlook Splash Pad is, of course, one that's a big one. Storybook Hollow, which this Parks Board created, adopted a master plan last year and is now currently in development. And the Waterfront Park as well, that is a master plan for that space. Can we click on Waterfront Park? And could you click on the adopted Waterfront Park master plan? Perfect. So this is the adopted master plan for the waterfront. This is a good example of what our master plans look like. Our master plans are simply that, they're plans. If you were to build a house, one of the first things you'd want to do is kind of pick out a floor plan and an idea of what things you would want to have within the house. How big is the foyer? How big is the kitchen? How is it laid out? Is it open concept? How many bedrooms? Well, once you have a floor plan, then you need to take the next step into having blueprints. And a blueprint is going to have a lot more of the structural components. Where are the water lines? Where's the electrical? How is this complying with code? All of those components. And then after you have the blueprints, then you can move on to actually building the space. The master plan represents the picking out a floor plan. It's the dreaming phase. It's the phase wherein we communicate with the public and say, hey, what would you like for this park? What values do you want reflected in this park? And then all of those ideas are condensed and put into a master plan, which then allows staff to go out and start looking for funds and resources to then step into that design or blueprint stage for a park. For this park in particular, this is one that we're actually working with the Port of Ridgefield on. So as you can see, it's separated into a passive space and an active space. And essentially, the big components that you'll see with this park will be an outdoor amphitheater, as well as a custom designed play structure. There is a hand launch for non-motorized watercraft, such as kayaks and stand-up paddle boards. And there is a passive space that is a little more natural and allows for some access to the water and some wonderful overlooks for the refuge that's across Lake River. This will be built in conjunction with the development that the port is working on for that space. Any questions on waterfront? Perfect.
There's no ETA for that. They don't have an ETA like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, do they?
There's not an ETA on that. So, and for all the master plans that I'll be showing you today, there isn't necessarily a ETA in any of them. But what they are is an example of an untied end. This is your opportunity to look at all of our untied ends and say, okay, we've put together master plans. We have ideas of what we want for the community. How might we prioritize them or make them a reality inside the pros plan? All right, let's go back and we'll take a look at another one. Oh, don't be. Okay, let's scroll down. Abrams Park Master Plan. Let's start with that one. So as our clerk is pulling that one up, I do want to let you know that Abrams Park Master Plan is obviously one of our most cherished parks here in the city, 42 acres. And last year, this Parks Board put together a plan for how we might revitalize this space. The key elements in here would be the movement of the softball field from its current location to another location so it could be regulation size, making some improvements to the trails to ensure accessibility, improve parking, improvements to Bennett Hall, and the inclusion of a nature boardwalk out where the old caretaker house used to be. Any questions on Abrams Park?
Is there a possibility of looking at putting a pickleball court down in there? Or is this set in stone?
Currently, the master plan did not include a pickleball court.
I know.
That said, council may decide to move away from that. That said, the master plan is really the direction that council has put forward. So I would not expect to see a pickleball court in Abrams Park.
But if it is just a blueprint and not the actual plans, is that just, I guess, you know, if this isn't something that's gonna be done in 5 years, wouldn't the city want to ask those questions again, like put out a thing just before they finalize something? Like say this isn't, because from what I've seen, the Abrams Park Master Plan's not gonna start, it's in phases as well, but over several years. So I guess my question is, obviously we're like one city that doesn't have pickleball courts, like in the area. And I think that sounds like there were some people that neighbors that didn't like it or whatever, but this park seems perfect for it. So does that mean like as it gets closer to finalizing the blueprints that they would go back to the public and maybe see like?
Absolutely,
Okay.
that's always an opportunity, and it actually brings up a unique component of all of our master plans. A master plan is really a snapshot in time of what the residents want at that moment. The longer that a master plan goes incomplete, the less value the less accurate that snapshot is. Because of course our residents are changing every day. Our ideas are changing every day. So it's one of the reasons why we actually don't have any master plans scheduled for this year. Last year we had 3, because 3 is a lot for us to continue moving down the pipeline. All right, let's move on to the next one. I think next up is G Creek Trail. So we're currently working on some designs to find ways to help connect G Creek Trail to the refuge. There's a couple of different options that we're exploring. That said, one of the things I want to point out, and we actually don't have to pull up a map. One of the things I want to point out here is we do have a long-term strategy for building a trail along G Creek. This would get you from Abrams Park all the way to Royal Road and get you connected to the high school. It could potentially be a significant corridor for our trail system here in the city. That may be something that you all want to consider in the pros plan for next year. Any questions on G Creek Trail?
Sorry, I have a lot of questions tonight. The grant funded
Please.
project, it says usually those grants have an expiration date. So do we know the expiration for that one?
For this particular segment of the trail, the construction on this segment of the trail would have to start in 2027. So we're currently working through the components with WashDOT to make sure that we're in compliance with that and exploring a couple of different options on the design side. Hillhurst Multimodal Trail. This is another one that is of import to council, and that is improving the access along Hillhurst Road. This is a route that many of our teenagers and middle school students utilize to get to and from school, so an improvement along this road will help provide a better multimodal path for users. Think similar to the new trails or the new multimodal paths that are next to Pioneer Street as you're driving into town. those 10-foot wide sidewalks on either side are technically multimodal trails that provide that access for users. In fact, I did run it today too. It opened today, so we had to run it today. Horns Corner Park. As of right now, this is a wonderful grassy area that residents usually go to walk their dogs, and there's a trail that does go through it. But there are plans to have an inclusive design play structure within this park. We actually have a budget request for 2026 that does include funding for the design of that play structure. So this park would have specifically the first inclusive design playground for the community, and the master plan does include a restroom as well as, I believe, a basketball court that is on it. Do we have a picture of the master plan itself? Yeah, this is one of those that was, I believe, back in 2000, I want to say 22. Here's some examples of what this space could potentially look like. So this is part of the master plan. So inclusive design playground with some trees. We scroll a little further down. What else have we got? As we're going through these pictures, do you have any questions about this particular master plan?
I just feel like, again, maybe, like if we could go back when it came time to this, like going back to it, because I feel like a lot of the neighborhood parks already have basketball courts. Mm-hmm. So like, rather than a basketball court, make it a tennis court, and that can be converted to pickleball court. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like dual use, especially 2022, this was before the whole pickleball stuff. But if you look, there's a lot of basketball courts within the neighborhood parks. That's just what I'm thinking, like, again, this was from 2022, as things pickleball becomes more popular, just kind of, is there a way that we can put that will that be something that we put in the pros plan that like we recommend, like somewhere find in these master plan parks?
I think as you're stepping into the pros plan for next year, one of the things you can definitely include is requiring or requesting that as these projects are moving forward, like what's the timeline for community engagement? Right now, this was, of course, adopted back in 2022. If we try moving forward with the project in 2026, that's a 4-year gap. That's a lot of time. You could potentially say that in the pros plan, it's recommending that we, get proper feedback at least a year or two prior to the start of a project, as opposed to 4 or 5 years.
I'm jumping ahead, but will the will the indoor recreation center have indoor pickleball options?
That currently does have indoor pickleball options.
Okay.
We're looking at having 4 indoor pickleball courts. It's also a basketball court and a volleyball court. It's kind of the everything court that you see in a lot of facilities, but it would allow for 4 pickleball courts.
Okay, well, there we go.
I feel like we could be getting another pickleball ornament at this rate.
Next month is December. Let's go. All right. Let me check out the next master plan.
I'm just wondering, can you guys see how many community members are engaging with this page? Like, 'cause you can see
How many visits?
are coming to this website.
I can talk to communications, but I'm sure that they've got that number.
I just think this is really interesting, and as community members, I think
Was that all of them?
it's
Okay.
really nice visuals and how it's set up, and how when you can click on them, the view project, how it's set up is really, really visually a nice way to look at it. I don't know, I think the community would really like to see it. I don't know if they're seeing it or not, but
Yeah, this is a live website that we do encourage the public to come into. Whenever we
Yeah.
do any of the public engagement surveys, they're always on Ridgefield Roundtable, and that's how we collect that data.
yeah,
And we have a master email list that does engage with those folks.
Yeah.
So. Mayor's Meadow Multi-Use Trail, this is a trail to help get us from Mayor's Meadow, the edge of Abrams Park, over to Reman Road. We're working through the design concepts. Of course, there's a lot of constraints in that space topographically. Pioneer Street is there, private property is there, and there are utilities that are running through the space. So right now, Clark Regional Wastewater District is working on updating some pump stations in the area related to the decommissioning of our sewage treatment plant here in Ridgefield. And so as they're going through those updates, we are looking at piggybacking on those projects to have trail improvements go in at the same time. So this is why we have not seen movement on this particular project. That said, I know that one of the things that I hear a lot from residents, and I'm sure you do as well, is how do we improve trail access from the 35th roundabout to downtown? And so when you go into the pros plan for next year, that is your opportunity to help specify your priorities, and if that were one of them, the pros plan would be the place to do that.
Has that not been our priority list for the last 8 years? I mean, we've been talking about, I know that
absolutely
it's
say so,
near
yes.
impossible, and that's, I mean, it's never left Steve Stewart's mind.
Absolutely, no, it's obviously been a high
Yeah,
priority for
I mean,
a long time.
We could, as a Parks Board, we could require the council see a way to get a trail through, but it's not going to change the fact that we just don't have the property and and they're working on it the best they can.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I think that we could potentially do better as a city is to help educate and provide more updates on what work is being done. There's always a lot of work happening in the background, but there's so many different components with the road movement, potential landslides in the area, and of course the private property that it's always something that
Yeah.
we are working on.
I mean, having a
It's just
round
complex.
table about this subject is futile because it is something that is at the front of the thoughts as they acquire land and try and, I know that that is a goal. It's not sitting on a shelf somewhere. It's actually, there's just so many constraints to it that it's taking a long time to work around those constraints or to work through them.
Yes.
Okay.
And even right here at the Mayor's Meadow, is there any way, because there's the trail on the other side of there where that trailer park is for a crosswalk opportunity right there. I just, that whole stretch, I feel like I drive through there holding my breath. And I, as a community member and to be a member of Parks Board and be a school teacher and know how many children constantly
all the time.
are walking up and down from there. And now the pump track is up there, and I know that the children from downtown are making their way up to the pump track. Makes me extremely, extremely nervous. So, yeah.
I'm definitely noted, and that's, as we step into these planning documents, that's the opportunity for us to help, or for you as a commission to help determine, what are the biggest priorities and how much emphasis do you need to put on them.
Is there any other discussion? All right, well, moving on to business. We have the permanent park improvement proposal, Davis Park Monument sign.
Wonderful. All right, this is
again.
one, oh, pardon me.
Every November.
Thank you, Parks Board Chair and Parks Board. This is one that I'm bringing back to you at request of City Council.
This is her bailiwick.
So Davis Park's monument sign has seen better years. And this is our opportunity to do an improvement of it. Next slide. So what's being asked tonight is a consideration of a recommendation of which sign do you prefer. So we may take that to council for a potential approval. Once we have an approval from them, we can go out and purchase a sign and install the sign. We do want to make sure that the sign is reflective of the community's values, and of course, being Parks Board, you help represent that. Before we step into the considerations, let's talk briefly about the Ridgefield Municipal Code 8.18, which is the Parks and Trails Rules and Regulations, which you updated earlier this year. This specifies that if there are any permanent improvements to parks or trails, that they have to go through a review process to ensure that they are in alignment with the values of the community. First step is to go to Parks Board for a review. Step 2 is to take that recommendation to City Council, and then after that is if there's a approval by council, the city staff will then work to get that installed. This can be used for everything from park monument signs, but also the installation of dogway stations or signs within parks, dedications of park benches, or picnic shelters and other facilities within parks. The reason why I mention this is I currently have about 7 different requests from residents to donate permanent park improvements, whether it be dogway stations for one particular trail that an HOA has been asking about, residents who want to install interpretive signs for parks that were previously property that were part of their family's heritage, or dedications of park benches for individuals who have passed away in our community. Next slide. So with that, we've got 7 options before you today. Our intent here is to get your feedback, allow you to have a discussion, and then to consider a recommendation for one, multiples, all, or none of these signs if you would like. So these are the current signs as they are. Next slide. Oh, go back. My apologies. So with that, I'll turn it back over to you, Chair, for discussion and potential consideration.
And I'll turn it over to the board. What do you guys think?
I'm trying to remember our conversation about, like, are there official colors of the city? How long has this design been utilized, right, with Cardi and any of the lettering? But then also, in terms of number 5, if that fits the whole aesthetic of the main street and what's going there. So I think those are conversations I remember from last time.
Those were the good memory. Impressive.
Well, who came up with these prototypes?
We, the city's communication.
AI or who?
The city's communications team and communications manager oversaw the project, Megan DeMoss.
I feel like they're the exact same ones as last year, which I feel like last year we said we didn't like any of them, right? Like we wanted variations of them, so it's just.
I feel like 4 is a little different. I was looking at them before, and I personally like 4.
I can share that 1 through 6 were ones that you saw last year. 7 is a new one.
7's new.
Yes.
I mean,
Is that the one they're liking us to choose?
They did not provide any particular feedback on what to choose.
it sounds like we can bring forward multiple, so I mean, I don't
Okay.
know.
Is
I
there
mean, I
any
like
of them that people don't like? Like, for some reason, number 6, that looks,
Oh, see,
I
I
don't-
like number 6
You
because
do,
it had
'cause
like the
got all the little people at the bottom.
yeah. I don't know. I like because it has the farmers market stuff on there. That's why I like
But
6.
that's not always gonna stay there. That
Yeah.
farmer's market's temporary.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Just,
a good
I
point.
mean, people can still put
Yeah.
pop-up tents there and there can be events, but.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I feel like I know Davis Park is one of the signs that are supposed to stay in line with all of the other signage that goes in. If we pick number 5, all our signs are gonna look like this.
Not necessarily.
I remember that conversation very
We had a,
precisely.
But I thought this one was a community.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought.
I'm asking Corey a question. Did we
Yes.
not come up with 5 parks that would have like repeating signs, so we knew those were
we
community
did come up with
parks?
5 repeating signs that would be for our parks. We did specify that community parks would each have a monument sign. So the monument sign for each of our parks would be distinct. Those are the ones that would be different. So considering that Davis Park is a community park, it is permitted to have a monument sign that is different and is specific to that park. Now, it does not mean that the park would still have our rules and regulation signs or any hazard signs or any of those other signs that we would need to have for parks. It would still have, but allows us to have a unique sign for a particular park.
Okay.
So Abrams Park, for example, has a unique sign that was originally put together by Boy Scouts. And I anticipate that that sign will likely stay
Okay,
there. for
I
a very long
misunderstood.
time.
I thought
Absolutely.
our 5 distinct community parks were supposed to be the same. They are allowed to be, all 5 are allowed to be different.
Yes, community parks are allowed to have a
Okay.
different monument
Okay.
sign. Mhm. And as we bring on more community parks, those ones will be different as well.
With that said, I do agree, I like number 5 because it does, while it is not the Ridgefield Main Street logo, it does kind of feel like a Main Street feel to it, and that's that's about the border of where the Main Street districts.
And that one was
District-
specifically designed after that logo.
And then
to
I
match
do
that
like number
aesthetic.
7 because it has a color in it, but truthfully, I think these are all boring, except for number 5 and maybe 7. 6, the little people at the bottom, I wonder if they'll get lost, but I suppose they'll be more emphasized if it gets bigger. So this is my feel. 1 and 3 and 4, they're all the same. Number 2 is pretty much the same. They just, I mean, let's put a curve, let's straighten it out. Let's make the logo gray, let's make it blue. They're, I don't know, they're non-distinctive. I'd rather have, if it's gonna be one of those signs that can be distinctive, and it can be different than other signs, I would probably lean towards 5, whereas initially I would have tossed that one out first. So I think 5 or 7 just gives it a more distinctive look. That's my opinion.
Well, I think we talked about 5 last time too. Yeah, it was on there.
Number 7 has echoes of the overpass, what's been done on the overpass, which looks amazing, into Ridgefield, so that when people come into Ridgefield, hopefully go past In-N-Out Burger and come downtown, they'll see a thematic crossover that's tied.
The crane stands out more.
Yeah, it does stand out more.
You pointed that out, and it's like,
I
okay.
didn't
yeah.
notice that. Good point.
Yeah, I mean, my 2 favorite are 6 and 7. I know the little people, but for me, it just resonates with my family because we literally, today we rode our bikes down there twice. And just my kids just, yeah, I don't know. It's just a very family-friendly park. But I do really like 7 now with the orange, with how that brings in with the overpass art.
I like 5 and 7. I like that the overpass kind of matches 7. I want to like 4 so bad, but I just don't like that the city of Ridgefield text is so low. I don't like how low it is. I wish it was higher up, then I would like it more. But I do like the blue on that one.
Yeah, I like 7 now that you brought up. Yeah, and I like 5 because it does tie in with the downtown theme. John, what are you thinking?
Well, number 7 is the only one that doesn't say Ridgefield on it.
Pass it back and say add Ridgefield to it, and like give them an
Yeah.
element like above or below.
Maybe with the,
Yeah.
so is there a motion to recommend number 5 and 7 with the exception of 7 adding Ridgefield to the sign?
Are we allowed to recommend changes to some of these too,
Oh, yeah.
Corey?
Absolutely, you can.
Okay.
And there's opportunities if you don't like any of them, but there are components of each that you enjoy, you can point them out to us as part of a discussion. And you don't have to make a recommendation today. These can be all things that I take back to.
Oh, we're not recommending,
same as
we're
last year
just
then.
discussing.
If you don't want to make a recommendation, you don't have to, but what I can do is, if you have feedback, what I can do is take this back to the communications team and say, hey, this is specifically what we heard, this is what they would like, give us some more options. We can do that. And considering this is Davis Park, and your Parks Board, you can put up a sign whenever you like. It doesn't have to go up right now. If you want to take some time to make sure it's a sign that you think is best reflective of the community, I think that is entirely appropriate.
Will we be eventually putting an overlook sign, a sign up for Overlook Park? Because there's no sign there now.
Yes, we're working on that one too, because we want to
Okay.
have new signage for when we
'Cause
open the
that might be a
splash pad.
better location to, reflect the bridge, the cranes on the bridge, the pink cranes on the bridge.
I was also thinking though, I think it could be cool if we were to do the same, if they could get the same color kind of crane thing that's on the bridge. Like, I don't know how copyright stuff works for the artist that did that, but I think it'd be cool, whether this one or Overlook, to actually have the actual cranes that are like those colors of those cranes, the blues, the green. Not green, blue and orange.
Well, you guys,
I like that there's color in number 7. I guess I do like the little, well, it looks like somebody's playing a saxophone. I don't like that. If he's playing a saxophone, it's like, nobody plays a saxophone. Is he playing it? Can you guys see what he's doing? Tell me what he's doing.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe because they did the music, maybe they thought maybe,
Ugh,
but yeah.
that's like New Orleans. That's the first thing I looked at. It's like, I feel like New Orleans. But,
I can confirm that is a saxophone.
yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Well, do you feel more comfortable not making a recommendation and just sharing our thoughts and ideas with the design team?
yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, Corey, is that all right?
Of course it is. It's your
Okay.
meeting.
We would like to do that then.
Provide feedback. If
All
you
right.
want, if I could throw in, if you want to have each person go through and kind of just give me, like, dump thoughts out, I can write them all down. We're also recording all of this, so I can get all of that
Yeah,
too and
let's-
give it to the design team.
Remember, Earl, let's start with you.
Sorry, this is like elementary school. Might I suggest that if we're narrowing it down to 2 of them, perhaps they could give us other iterations of those 2 based on the feedback, so we see multiple. So we're getting more narrowed in to the 2 categories we're looking at.
And can I assume this is going to be the shape of the sign?
That would be the shape, because we're looking at utilizing the same structure that the
Okay.
current sign is on.
It won't be taller and
Would not be
narrower.
taller.
It would be this, like
Be
a
the same,
width, height
the same
ratio.
frame that the current sign is on.
Okay. I really like the Davis Park being, that sign kind of looks like city. You're in the downtown historic. It is a historic with the filigree. I don't know if you call it filigree. It's kind of like what they call those little overhangs they have, like the flower baskets bracket. It has the bracket on the bottom, bracket on the top. It's a lot like the brackets in the flower baskets that we have. I'd love maybe a color, like I do like the orange in there, but the stark black looks good against that blue. I like it for a park that's in the downtown city. Maybe a little, like, I agree with Alex, a little iteration of, it says City of Ridgefield, it says when it was established, it says its name. There's no crane, but does it have to have a crane? Because that's the branding. Our crane is our branding, and I don't know if we need to brand every sign when it's kind of like the branding often takes place of your name, what you're branding. When you're branding Nike, you don't have to put the word Nike next to the swoosh. You see the swoosh, it's Nike. And so this is, that's kind of our branding. It doesn't have to say Ridgefield, but, or it doesn't have to have the crane if it says Ridgefield. I like that number 5, but somehow a crane with a little bit orange would be nice. That's my thoughts. I haven't done lots of words.
Yeah, I like 5 for Davis. And now that you bring up the fact that Overlook could have, I think that 7 would be really good for Overlook, just like it is, only adding Ridgefield to it.
I think that they bring that up too. I agree with it. I like everything I've heard down the line here about just having consistency along that corridor.
I'm gonna go against opposite a little bit. I feel like if Overlook, if anything, I feel like matches more the historic thing where Overlook Park would be. But if we were gonna go that Davis Park with that Main Street charm, I would rather see, rather than City of Ridgefield, kind of like historic downtown Ridgefield versus like City of Ridgefield, just to kind of tie in that, knowing that's historic. And then, yeah, that would be my one thing, that if we were gonna keep that sign, make it historic Main Street or historic downtown Ridgefield. And then number 7, obviously, really like, it is kind of plain-ish for a specialty monument, but I do like the color in it. So I guess, again, going back to what they said, 5, having some color would be nice.
I agree with wanting 5 to have some color. I think the only reason I like 4 now is because it has color. It's kind of boring, but I like the color on it. So I think if 5 had color, like, I don't know if the black changed to be blue, but I still also do really like 7 with or without it saying City of Ridgefield.
And with that, we are back to public comment. Anyone requesting to speak to the board regarding all items not subject to specific public hearing may come forward at this time. Please state your name and limit comments to 3 minutes. Written comments may be submitted to the clerk prior to the meeting. Okay. Staff reports.
Perfect. Thank you, Chair. All right, a couple of things to update you on. I know everyone wants to know about the splash pad. So, one, I do want to thank the public for participating in the test drive mode that we debuted in October. This wasn't a full opening for the splash pad, but we did do testing for a month leading up to October to ensure that it was passing all of its public health safety measures, and then we had procedures and policies in place. In October, we opened it up to the public for use because it was safe, and we were using and working through our policies each and every day. I or one of my colleagues in the Capitol team were down there every single morning, Monday through Sunday, so including the weekends. We would go down there and test it in the morning to ensure that it was safe for operational use, and then we'd open it up to the public. During that time, we refined our processes, and the splash pad has been shown that it is operational, which is wonderful. So there'll be some minor improvements and betterments that we do throughout the winter to enhance the space for operational purposes, but generally speaking, it is functioning. So we look forward to a full opening and operation in May of next year. We will plan a ribbon cutting, and I fully expect it to be the biggest ribbon cutting we've ever done, because I have a sign sitting in my desk and sitting at my office that says splash pad coming summer 2023. So I'm very excited to get this open. With that, I do want to throw a huge shout out to our capital infrastructure team, who really did a ton of work over the past few months to get this operational. Their professionalism, their expertise, their knowledge, their diligence was really remarkable, and it would not have been possible had they not really taken ownership of it. Two, I want to thank the public for being patient with us and understanding that this was a unique asset that we want to make sure is safe. And as I've been saying for at least the past 2.5 years that I've been here, the splash pad will open when it is safe, and I can confidently say that it is. I'm comfortable with my daughter running through it, and therefore I'm excited for the rest of the public to really be able to celebrate that we've gotten to this point when we open it up in May. So thank you. Next up, Boyce Park. We have opened the first pump track in the county. Some of you were out there. Wonderful opening. It's been busy. There's been a lot of folks coming out to that park. If I'm ever having I need to get out and talk to people moment, I go out to that park and just talk to parents and kids that are out there. And I met a resident who came all the way from Washougal just so they could use the bump track, which I thought was pretty remarkable, that there are people coming to visit this asset from other parts of the county, which is great, not only for the recreational component, but I'm pretty sure they're stopping by coffee shops and restaurants and spaces that are helping the economy of our city as well. So it's just been a wonderful thing, and I'm glad that we're able to get that to the public. Next up is Storybook Hollow Park. If you've been out towards the area, one, the bridge is open and you can drive across it, which makes commuting a heck of a lot easier. And two, you'll see that the play structure has been erected and landscaping is taking place. With that, I encourage the public, please do not play on the play structure because it is not open yet. There's lots of tape all over it to help people stay off of it, but it is not is not fully installed and therefore not safe to use at this point. That said, this park is really going to have a unique feel to it. The trees that were cut down for the bridge are being saved for art installations and benches throughout the park, which is so exciting to see. And the trail that's cut into the hill that was part of the master plan is really shaping up to be not only fun and exciting for the kids, but really beautiful. So thank you for being part of that master plan process, because what you're seeing on the ground right now is a direct reflection of a very rigorous master plan process. So thank you. Up next for Parks Board next month, we're going to be talking about the 2026 work plan and the work that you may be doing this next year. So we'll kind of discuss what some of those options are, what we're hearing from council, and we can start putting together a draft to consider in January. And then finally, for my Get Outside message, I do want to encourage everybody, as you're going through and raking up all of your leaves and cleaning up your yards, please make sure that you are disposing of your own leaves and not just blowing them out into the street. We do have crews that do street sweeping. That said, anything that you can take care of makes the operations and maintenance easier on our team. And on top of that, any of those leaves that run down the storm drain create clogs and can really create issues for all of the city spaces long term. So please, everybody, do their part. Other than that, I stand for questions if you have any.
I wanted to know, when, did you already say this? When does the Storybook Park open? Like, when is the opening of the play structure part?
According to the developer agreement that we have with the builders, it is supposed to be complete by December 31st. That said, we're still waiting to see if that happens. I'm hopeful at this point, but similar to the splash pad, it will only open when it is safe to do so. And we are planning a full ribbon cutting for that park as well. Right now, we're looking at pushing that out towards the spring. I'm actually pushing for the first day of spring. That seems fun and whimsical. So hopefully we can try have the ribbon cutting sometime in March. That said, it can be open to the public before that.
Did the city think about maybe doing a partnership with the Friends of the Library and maybe having children authors come in and read books around the park?
That is a wonderful idea that I'm sure city staff would be happy to tackle.
Cool. What about from the board?
I ran by that park last week, and it was cool to see everything kind of coming up. The playground, the bridge was open, and then just curious to see what other elements they're still going to put in, so that was fun to see. And then, I was at the ribbon cutting and at Boyce Park, and that was exciting to see how many people came out for that. And then I ran by that 2 or 3 times during the day, and there's always at least a dozen kids out there. And my kids enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun. And it's been cool to see some of the adults, like people my age or older, out there doing things I don't want to do. So.
I'm sorry that I missed the ribbon cutting. I really wanted to be there for that. I had to work that day. But I am impressed with how much it's being used, and so many people are asking me about it. Adults are asking me about it. They've heard about it and want to know more about it. For the ones that don't understand what a pump track is. It's also that time of year, so before we meet again, my husband and I will have an open house Christmas party the first Saturday after the tree lighting this year, and you are all welcome to come to it. If you'd like. We just live down the end of Main. Had to think. End of Main, cut over Depot to the First Avenue, 1195. So anytime after 6 p.m. if you want to come down after the tree lighting, you're welcome to. You don't need to bring anything. Everything is provided. Okay?
Anyone else?
I do. Thank you for the kind invitation, Beth. And the one part where we were talking about the connection between Ryman Road and Abrams Park, the new Ridgefield Youth Commission is going to be focused, I believe they're going to be focused on e-scooters and other e-devices and little e-mini motorbikes and stuff. So just as Bridget indicated, there's a lot of kids going back and forth between those areas. I suspect there's also going to be a lot of impetus to use these particular items, and this might be an issue that the Youth Commission reviews, and maybe their recommendations will cross over and be helpful.
I just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving coming up, and just my father-in-law's visiting right now from Italy, and he always mentions about like how quiet and peaceful it is, but how many children are at the parks. Every time he mentions how many children are at the parks, I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of kids here. So just really thankful for being in Ridgefield, and yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
All right. With that, we will adjourn at 7:46. Oh.